DY Cardladder is the industry leader in sports card data. We know what you want because Cardladder was created by collectors for collectors. Cardladder. Join the innovators, not the imitators.
Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana, and I have a recurring special guest on the channel today. It's Chris McGill of Cardladder fame, of Luka Doncic PC fame. Chris, welcome back to the channel. Always appreciate the time you take to spend with me because I know y'all got big things going on at Cardladder right now.
We do, but I would drop everything to appear on the Cajun Cardboard channel.
That's right. That's right. By the way, I sent you a resume. I don't know if it's arrived yet. I sent it by mail because people in Louisiana, we don't know how to email or text or anything. So I just mailed it to you. Hopefully it gets there.
Old school. That's how we like it.
Yeah, that's right. So today's topic is an interesting one. And some of you guys may have clicked on the thumbnail, could kind of figure out. But we're going to kind of talk about something that we'll call it the hobby tsunami, right? It's a concern. It's been kind of gradually growing, maybe over the last 7-8 years, maybe since 2017, right? In 2018, I think is really where we started to pay attention to print runs and maybe how many rookie cards and how many silvers and how many base. And then, you know, the hobby told us, well, don't collect these. You can only collect these rare ones. And then now we're asking the question, well, are those even rare enough? We're going to call it the hobby tsunami, right? And it's a tsunami of production. It's Panini and now, Fanatics, like how much is too much, basically. I'm going to throw some stats your way. I'm going to throw some numbers your way. And then maybe you can talk me off the ledge, right? And we can kind of talk about what is and isn't doable in the hobby and what can and can't maintain value. So this is really going to be from a collector perspective. But also, I know you don't like this. Well, I mean, you may like it. I don't know. But it's also going to be heavily investment perspective, kind of from that perspective as well. I think as an investor, I think the flippers are going to love this. The short-term investors are going to love it. But even guys like us who are really primarily collecting, we want to buy cards at the value that we think they're going to have or less in 10 years from now, right? We don't want to overpay for cards now knowing they're going to crash. So all of that we're going to throw into a pot, and we may not come up with an answer, but we're going to have fun talking about it.
I can't wait. This is a big, important topic. And to be honest, I'm not sure how many times it's ever been covered. And certainly to cover it as Michael Jordan collectors is a good perspective to take. I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Doncic before or after? We got to talk about Doncic in the trade. Let's do a 5-minute Doncic trade thing right now and force people to listen to your opinion and my opinion on Doncic.
If we're not forcing people to listen to our sports takes, what are we even doing?
What if I can't coerce people to listen to what I want to talk about? Then what the hell do I have a channel for? I think this was the biggest. We'll say biggest. We'll leave out the word lopsided for now because we're going to talk more about what they got in return. But I think this is the biggest trade, the biggest asset traded since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was traded from the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think there's been anything else in my lifetime. I'm trying to think, and I'm talking basketball only because I know there was a Wayne Gretzky trade, obviously from Edmonton to LA Kings, and he at the time was probably he was certainly significantly more accomplished on paper than Luka Doncic was, although he might have been a little bit older than Doncic, who's I think 25, right? Can you think of another trade from a star power perspective, from the value of an asset bigger than this since you've been following the NBA?
No, I can't. There was a stat shown on the game last night, the Luka's Laker debut, that said this was the first time 2 reigning All-NBA players had ever been traded for each other in a season.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up because you could look at the OKC trade from a few years ago that involved Paul George and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you could say, if you look at how good Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has become, and you look at the career that Paul George has had, those are 2 All-NBA caliber players who got swapped for each other, but not as reigning All-NBA players. Right. That's the caveat, is that both of these guys are top 15-ish or more or higher players getting traded for each other in a season.
we've seen big names move. I'll agree with you 100%. I mean, nobody's ever been traded who led the league in scoring at age 25, led their team to the NBA Finals, was almost certainly unequivocally willing to sign the Supermax because my understanding is he just bought a $15 million house in Dallas. That doesn't sound like somebody who thinks they're not going to be in Dallas. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think a name like Luka Doncic led the team in led the league in scoring, led the team to the finals, led the playoffs in points, rebounds, assists, and steals. Is 5-time, I think, All NBA, and that
First
streak's
team,
come to an end. Yeah, first team All NBA. That streak is going to come to an end this year because of the game minimum, right? But I don't think that anything like this has ever happened. I got to go look. I know you think I'm old, but I was not alive when Kareem. Well, I might have been alive, but I was not of the age of discernment when Kareem was traded from the Bucks to the Lakers. But he was probably pretty accomplished as well. But usually when you see these names change teams, it's because petulant, spoiled babies are demanding out. This was anything but that. It didn't sound like either player mentioned anything about wanting to leave. That's what makes it so odd.
It does make it odd. I think there's a lot more than what meets the eye going on here. There might even be sort of a perfect storm of weird things happening. But just like there is a different world where Nico Harrison lets Luka stay with the team through the season, signs Luka to a Supermax if we believe that Luka would have signed it, which is a 5-year deal. And then trade, and then you can get anything you want.
Right.
And then I would be crying, curled up in the corner under a blanket because Luka would probably be on the Charlotte Hornets with their team completely gutted of the next, first round pick for the following decade and with no other talent. So as a fan of Luka, it probably could not have worked out better than what happened. But thinking about it strategically from the point of view of the Mavericks as an organization, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't at least do the Supermax and trade him for a haul.
I just can't believe they didn't get Austin Reeves back. They didn't get the other first pick back. And if the impetus for the deal was, we don't like the way you take care of yourself, we're concerned that you might have durability issues, then why in God's name was the apple of your eye Anthony freaking Davis, who, as fate would have it, and nobody knows this yet, but that dude's, I think his season's over. I think he's going to be out for months. They say weeks, but look, I know what adductors are. I'm not a doctor, right? I slept at a Holiday Inn Express, but I'm not a doctor. Adductor strains, grade 2 adductor strains, those things don't heal quickly. I have a suspicion this could be months, not weeks.
Yeah, I think it was very telling that after the game last night where they had a heartbreaking loss to the Kings and a vintage DeRozan performance, that Jason Kidd, for the first time, some reporters were saying they had never seen a head coach do this before. Kidd refused to come out and do a post-game press conference, which is just unheard of. I mean, I think they are really in the dumps over there right now.
Yeah, I mean, why should Kidd take look, I'm no fan of Kidd, right? But why should Kidd take a bullet for Nico Harrison? Right. It's not Kidd's fault, right? He's just, they gave the troops to him. His job's to lead the troops. He doesn't get to decide who's on his roster, I guess. But I don't know. It's funny because I think that De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio deal, it gets me really excited. I think De'Aaron Fox is really good, man. And I think he really is going to ramp up the learning curve for Wembanyama. And I love the fact that Chris Paul's there as that old fossil that's kind of a sage old Yoda next to him, and he can play off the ball, right? So I was really excited about that, but it's just dwarfed. Nobody's even talked about it. Nobody even cares because this trade was just so otherworldly and overwhelming. Good. Okay, put your sports card investor hat on. Scale of 1 to 10, how good is this for the value of Luka Doncic cards long term?
9 out of 10.
Agreed.
It's really good. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is because Dallas is the 4th largest market to host an NBA team. It's a big market, and there are going to be plenty of Mavericks collectors, I think, who are going to stop collecting Luka. Not maybe they are upset at him or something, but more than likely just because they want to collect the players who are on their team, and it'll be bittersweet if he does well and they have their Luka cards, but they don't root for him anymore. So that's why it's not a 10 of 10, is because you're still losing a big fan base of team collectors, but it still gets the other 9 points on the scale, because the Lakers, they have to be the franchise with the most basketball collectors of any, especially because of how much collectors overseas, collectors from Asia, like the Lakers and follow the Lakers and collect Lakers players.
What do you think would have been better for the long term? This is a hypothetical. You ready? This is you got to choose A or B. What do you think would have been better for Luka Doncic basketball cards value long term? To have won a title in Dallas this year, or the trade to go down like this? Sans title, no title, but he's a Laker for the rest of his life. If you could choose as a Luka Doncic card holder, which of those would you have chosen? One title in Dallas, or the opportunity to win who knows how many, maybe 0, but maybe 7, who knows, somewhere in between there in Los Angeles? Where would you put your chips? Which one would you prefer as a Luka Doncic PC guy?
And just to clarify, we don't know what happens beyond this year. We're just
right now. You got to choose now. Yeah, I'm giving you a title in hand. In Dallas.
Does Luka win? Does Luka win Finals MVP?
Yes.
I might be inclined to go the stay with the Mavericks and win the Finals MVP.
Think that's enough? Think that's enough for the collectors? We're gonna talk more about this, but is that enough?
No, it's not enough. But if he does win one this year, and then he still has a decade's worth of career left to win more, I think I was of the opinion that had they won last year, and they weren't really close to winning in the end, but had they won last year, that was going to set up a 2 or 3 year, Luka window where like he's going to be, they're going to have to find a reason not to award him as the regular season MVP coming off of a Finals MVP, and he can put together like a really nice 2 to 3 year run. But instead they lost, and then the problem compounded when he got hurt. But I do think if he started building up some championship momentum with Dallas, he could rattle off a nice 2, 3, 4 year stretch that would have been really good for his collectability, for solidifying himself as an all-time great.
Yep. And now Gafford goes down. So we talked enough. That's 12 minutes about Luka, but we're both in shock. We're both okay with it. You can probably identify, I own one Luka Doncic card. You can identify which card that is, right? You remember.
I do remember. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you still had it.
Oh, I swindled you. That card's worth $100,000 if it's worth a nickel. Easily.
Nice. Good. You got a little skin in the Luka game then.
Yeah, we're laughing because it's an inside nerd joke, because the only Luka Doncic card I own was a black Prism fireworks that I purchased from Chris when he was no doubt consolidating. And I was happy to take his scraps and add a Luka Doncic card. Okay. The timing of this video is impeccable, because before this trade even happened, I reached out to you and I was like, I'm looking at some of the numbers, and I'm on the Beckett website. I'm on Trading Card Database. I'm worried there's a lot of serial numbered cards being printed, and I think there's a lot of false sense of security amongst the ultra modern collectors that as long as my card's serial numbered, it's going to be, insulated from this overproduction. As long as it's gold, serial number to 10, I'm going to be fine long-term. It's going to be super rare. And I just so happened to choose Luka Doncic as my, test subject, the guinea pig. And this was before any of this happened. It was before I even realized I was going to reach out to you. But once I chose Doncic, I was like, you know what? Chris would be a really good person to talk about with this. So the timing is impeccable. We're not picking on Luka Doncic. I chose Luka Doncic, and I ran some data and some numbers on Luka Doncic cards and print runs and how many serial numbered cards of this and that type. We're going to talk through all that stuff. The reason I chose Luka Doncic is because I would suspect in the ultra modern world, I guess now you could throw Wembanyama into the mix, he is the ultimate prospect, right? You can't say it's Zion because he's not going to be Doncic. John Morant's probably not going to be Doncic. It's Doncic, right? It's Doncic and Wembanyama. I mean, those are the two guys that sort of stand out. And I wouldn't even call Doncic a prospect anymore. Would you?
He's a prospect still, only in the sense that a lot of his market is based on future expectations.
Fair enough. Yeah. But we know there's no chance he's a flop. We'll put it that way, right?
Not a flop.
He's not
a bust.
He's not Osar Thompson, right? He's got a couple of credentials to his name. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just start throwing this out there. So I researched tcdb.com, which is a great website, trading card database. You know about it. Most of the people that watch my channel know I rely on trading card database a lot. They state there are 11,200. This is 6 years of Doncic cards, I think we discussed. 2018 through 2025, but whatever. There's 6 years worth of production of Luka Doncic cards. There are 11,217 unique Luka Doncic cards, meaning different base, insert, printing plates, one of ones, /10s, not numbered, chronicles, draft, all this weird Serbian crap, all that. 11,217. Beckett, for some reason, is off by a few hundred. Beckett says 10,862 unique Luka Doncic cards. I'm guessing Beckett maybe lagging a little bit behind TCDB, maybe because they're approaching stuff more from a grading perspective, perhaps. I'm not really sure, but let's safely say there's right at 11, somewhere around 11,000. Would you be surprised? How many of those do you think are serial numbered? Let's say there's 11,000. I ran the numbers and I used Beckett. How many of the 11,000 do you think are unique serial numbered?
I would think it's going to be a big majority. And the reason why I think that is because, like, take 2018 Prism as an example. Luka in the base set, he's going to have one unnumbered card, and then he's going to have about 40 numbered parallels. So, you're going to have, or I suppose they're not all numbered. So maybe like 25 of them are numbered. So yeah, I would guess, just using that as a proxy, maybe there's 15 unnumbered and 25 numbered in the Prism base set for his rookie year. I would go with like a 25 to 15 ratio, maybe 60 to 70% are going to be numbered. That'd be my guess.
Pretty good. That's pretty good. You worked your way into that really well. 7,300 approximately.
Yeah. Okay.
Of his 11,000 cards, different cards, are serial numbered. I don't think most people would guess that. I mean, you and I, we math nerds work our way backwards into it and kind of look at the Prism set, look at the Select set. But I don't think a lot of people would think that. I think a lot of people have this false security blanket that, well, I'm buying serial numbered. There's only 199 of them in the world. It's a red Prism. People are always going to want this, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I was surprised. I thought 7,300 was a large percentage. What is that? 65, 66, 67, something like that percent. There is 7,264 serial numbered Panini cards. Believe it or not, there are 25 unique serial numbered Upper Deck cards. There are 13 serial numbered Leaf cards. And then I am going to try to stump you. There is another apparent card brand out there that Beckett says created a serial numbered Luka Doncic card. And the name of that manufacturer is South Bay Cards. I have never heard of that in my life. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I may have heard of that once, I think, recently, actually.
We got to pick up the South Bay Luka.
That's a hidden opportunity. That's an opportunity right there.
Okay, so here's where I started crunching the numbers. And people are like, okay, well, that's a lot of unique numbered cards, but 7,000 different cards. What really matters is when you add up the serial numbers of those 7,000, what does that add up to, right? Because we're trying to work our way to really answer this question. How rare does the damn card have to be for 10 years from now it to still be considered rare, right? Because that's kind of the concern. Remember, we went through that phase around maybe 2019, 2020, where everybody and their grandma was like, stop buying base cards. There's too many of them. Just buy silver, right? Buy the silver because there's not as many.
Right.
And then we started to see the pop reports, right? Cardladder put out some great stuff. And now you got the pop report tracker. And then, we look at PSA and the PSA pop report, and we're like, whoa, wait. We were wrong. We take that back. Don't buy the silver, only buy the serial numbered stuff, right? We went through that phase for about a year. And then we looked at it and we're like, okay, hold on. That we were wrong again. The serial numbered stuff's not enough. You only need to buy gold or black one of ones, right? And that's kind of where we're at right now. And so that's what's led me to this question and this back and forth that we're going to have, where maybe is that even enough? Maybe do we have to go even a step further? It can't just be gold serial number to 10 or lower. It's got to be Prism gold serial number to 10 or lower, or National Treasures gold parallel number to 10 or lower. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. So let me ask you this question. I'm just going to throw it out there. You nailed the first question. I can't believe how close you got on this unique serial number. Of the approximately 7,000 serial numbered to 299 or less, how many of the 7,000 unique cards, the total print run, are serial number to 299 or less? Does that make sense?
It does. I'm struggling to think of a single Panini era parallel that's numbered to 300 or more.
No, it's none. But that's right. So the answer is 7,000. There are 7,000 parallels numbered to 299 or less for Luka Doncic. Do you realize how many that means have been printed? That's basically my question. I don't think the world understands what we're about to say. There are 1,050,000 approximately serial numbered to 299 or less Luka Doncic cards. Does that number concern you?
I'm just envisioning a pile of cards going to the moon, just
right.
Piling up, just miles of cards. A million cards. I mean, there's just there's no way to really wrap your head around what that would look like if it were sitting on a table in front of you, let's say.
This is let me talk to you about how I got to that, right? So out of the 7,300 unique serial numbered cards, and I did the math. It was right at 66% of Luka Doncic's total cards are actually serial numbered. But of the 7,000, I rounded to 7,000 instead of 7,300. Let's just say 7,000. Serial number to 299 or less. If the average of the serial number was 150, it's probably a little bit lower actually. But if the average was serial number to 150, which is like about half of 300, I spit out 1,050,000. That's a big number, man.
Yeah.
So my conclusion would be now we got to try to find rarity amongst. That's not rare enough at all. We've got to find other ways to lock in rarity, lock in certain future demand, right?
Yep.
And again, all of this hinges on Luka Doncic not flaming out, right? Let's say Luka is what we all think he's going to be. That's still not enough, right? A lot of that's built in. We got to get even more rare. Believe it or not, 6,500 of the 11,000 are serial numbered to 99 or less. That's why I think my initial serial number to 299 or less, a million, might be a little bit high. 6,500 are serial numbered to 99 or less. That's still 325,000 cards approximately.
Yeah.
That really worries me because 99 or less is, most people would think that's pretty rare.
Yep. I mean, coming from Michael Jordan collecting, if we've got a 90s Michael Jordan card in a Bulls uniform that's got 99 or less copies,
yeah,
that's a big card.
We're doing things.
That's a really big card.
Yeah. The list is short. The list is short, Chris, right? That's the difference, right? That's the difference. That's a huge difference. I think that both sides can learn a little bit from each other. 90s collectors can maybe learn a little bit about like ultra modern collectors have to be hyper focused on rarity for these reasons that you're pointing out, and 90s collectors might get more of a appreciation for, you know, I don't collect these cards. They're out of my budget range. Even if they were in my budget range, they're unattainable. But like those Michael Jordan playing days 1/1s, like the Nat has 3 of the 4 97 Flair Showcase masterpiece 1/1s. I mean, I feel like those cards are not celebrated enough. But I think that's my ultra modern collecting bias coming into play, where like I understand how important it is to seek out the best 1/1s from the best products. And like MJ only has a handful from 97. Chris, I was just thinking of Michael Jordan playing years cards, serial numbered to 99 or less. We've got both credentials, future and now. We've got, we'll throw playmakers in there because it's 100, right?
Sure.
We've got Star Quest Gold. We've got Grand Finale. We've got all 4 PMGs.
Yep.
Molten
Metal Fusion Titanium.
Molten Metal Fusion Titanium only, not the titanium, not the Fusion, but the Titanium parallel for sure.
Golden Boss Refractor, 74.
Some of the Legacy collections, right?
Yep. Some of those are 100.
Yep.
Rubies.
Platinums. And then
you start getting, then you get to the one of a kinds and the other legacies at 150.
Yeah.
I guess you have the ghost card of the starting 5 out of 5.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. Sure you do.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah, and then you got your masterpieces. So, I'm just kind of off the cuff here trying to figure out how many unique playing year Michael Jordan cards were serial numbered, let's say 100 or less, just to round it off. What did we name? And we'll include all your 101s, right? All your 101 playing years. You've got a list of that. Is it 40?
It's low.
Yeah, it's some. I mean, I'm including a lot of those 101s that people won't talk about, the power decks and weird stuff, right? Stuff you know what I'm saying? There's some weird stuff in there.
Yeah.
I guess the 98 upper deck. If you include 98 upper deck, then you've got the wilds and the jamborees and the weird stuff, right? Don't they have a serial number 25?
Yeah. If we pull in the 98 upper deck, there's the base set has 23. Different or photo variation, 1 Michael Jordan's card number 230, A through Y or whatever it was. Yeah. So when you pull in 98 upper deck and some of those MJ only insert sets, you get a little over 100 unique 1-of-1s just from those products. So, but to the bigger point of this conversation, Michael Jordan collectors have always sort of looked away from those sets. I think in part just because that alone is too much. Too much, but it's not even a drop in the bucket compared to Ultramodern.
Printed. We don't want those. Too many printed.
All right.
Yeah, that's baffling. So let's just keep going, right? We're going to keep going down this parade of horribles, and we're going to kind of narrow it down. Serial number to 10 or less, right? We think gold prisms, gold's primary. Usually it's gold in the Panini era. Serial number to 10. 3,750 of his 11,000 approximately cards are serial number to 10 or less. That really surprised me. That is a lot of different cards, serial number to 10 or less. That's 18,750 cards, man.
Yeah.
That's 18,750 cards. I know the demand is really, really high now. That demand is really going to have to at least plateau, if not grow substantially, for even serial number to 10 to be enough. Talk me through your thoughts on just specifically cards serial number to 10. Do you have to go one more logical step and say select optic, prism, national treasures, flawless, maybe a couple more, and then cut it? Do you have to say take out even the insert golds, take those out? Is that not even enough? Does it have to be a base parallel, gold? I mean, where do you think how much is it? I know I'm asking you to tell the future, but at some point, we've got to start looking at these numbers, 18,750 Luka Doncic cards printed to 10 or less. Maybe the answer is rookie cards only, but I know you don't believe that. And I definitely don't believe that. We're going to go through some more. I'm going to make you choose between 2 cards and I'm going to let you, show your true colors. Yeah. But back in the day, back in the old days, in vintage, it was just rookie or bust, right? I mean, those folks, unless you were collecting sets, is I don't want a freaking Wade Boggs 84 tops. What the hell do I want an 84 for? His rookie was 83. I don't want an 84.
Well, it depends on how far back you want to go. There are even collectors of an old enough vintage who would say that the concept of the rookie card itself is a gimmick. Yeah. Because that concept didn't really start showing up in the hobby until the production boom of the 80s in baseball cards. So I was reading an interesting article about that in a Beckett baseball magazine. Yeah, okay. Where they traced the history of the rookie card, and the concept of the rookie card didn't become mainstream until manufacturers in the 80s who were competing against each other to get the first card out and then then they would put out like an update set that would feature some of the other players. And for baseball, like the rookie stuff is really weird, and I don't fully understand really how all the baseball stuff works. I'm not a big baseball collector, but the concept of the rookie card was sort of a gimmick that came about in the 70s and the 80s, and now it's actually one of the most important markers that we can use when collecting ultra modern to sort of create lists of what we think are the cards that we should most be targeting. And the reason why the rookie card is a valuable marker is it's because it's a way to build a sandbox that keeps out the excess of production. That sort of is the name of the game, in my opinion, as an ultra modern collector.
Is it rationalization? Is that what we're doing here? Are we like self-imposing rules to preserve importance of otherwise overprinted cards? Is that what we're doing? Okay,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and you can either see it as a glass half full or a glass half empty.
But I feel like that's slipping. Like I feel like if you, Chris, if you took a time machine back 7 years ago, let's say to 2017.
Yeah,
I feel like a larger percentage of people in the hobby cared more about a card being a rookie card then than they do now. I think you and me to some extent, but a lot of the folks that are constantly pumping out content and really keeping their finger on the pulse of what people are doing in the hobby, I think there has been less of an emphasis placed on rookie card, more of an emphasis placed on scarcity of the card. And we're going to get to that in a second, because I want to ask about second year gold versus, rookie serial number to 49 and third year black 1 of 1 versus rookie card, green, neon green. Oh, I don't mean to mention neon green with Christine. She's not around, is she? No, I don't mean to mention that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's more of an emphasis on a particular card than a rookie or bust type mentality today than there was maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago. Is that just me? Or, I mean, that's just my take on it. And I think collecting 90s may have shaped that for me, right? Because Michael Jordan's best cards are not one of his 2 rookie cards. We know that.
Yeah, no, I think the 90s collecting is just so different. I mean, we're a little bit spoiled collecting Michael Jordan because there's so much demand for his cards. There's so many collectors, and the supply is relatively limited of his most desirable cards, even the inserts, such that as a Michael Jordan collector, you almost just get to go on eBay, type in Michael Jordan, and when you see a card that looks really nice, you consult your Cajun hierarchy and look at the pack odds, and as long as it's sufficiently rare, you can buy it and have a reasonable expectation that there isn't just going to suddenly be a flood of these things, or that there's demand is going to go away from them. Like, Michael Jordan collecting really lets you exercise your aesthetic subjective preferences. It lets you pick the cards that you think look the best, or that show the best action shot, or that have the coolest die cut, so on and so forth. Collecting ultra modern, you could really step into quicksand if I go on eBay and I type in Luka Doncic and I think, wow, this card looks great. There might be real opportunity with this card. It's the landscape is so much broader and so much more complex that, even like a product like National Treasures, I mean, you can get caught sort of like getting seduced by a nice looking insert from that product. And then you'll look and you'll be like, man, the RPA sells for 5 figures. Like, why is mine only selling for 5% of that? And if you're just going off of aesthetics or personal preference, you're going to really struggle to understand why it works that way.
Yeah.
So, the flip side of the coin is that as an ultra modern collector, collecting in an era of super abundance, you have to really develop self-imposed rules, like you were saying. So, like, just to give an example, the Luka that you own is the 2019 Fireworks Prism Black PSA 10. Mm-hmm. And so that card, it's not enough to just say this is a really cool looking card. Instead, you have to, and it's in a PSA 10, which that would be enough for Michael Jordan. If it's cool looking and it's in a PSA 10, you've probably landed on something good. But for Luka, you have to look at more. You have to say, well, does he have any other fireworks inserts that come before this? And the answer is no. So now you've got something a little more special going because it's the first ever fireworks insert set to feature Luka. And then you also say, okay, well, this is a one of one. Well, are there other one of ones? Because there might be 3 one of ones to this set. Well, there's not. It's the only one of one to that one. That's the concept of the one of one, the only one of one.
Yeah.
Starts to take on meaning. Okay, so now you have the first ever fireworks Luka. You've got the Prism Black, and it's the only one of one to it. And then you have to look at brand, and you say, well, is this coming from Prism, or is this coming from Flux, or is this coming from Donruss? Which brand is this coming from?
Yep.
And you really have to look at all the different bullet points that you could line up about this card and see where it really stacks up. And so for some, that's like a fun challenge to try and figure out who can put together the best caption that tells the story of a card, it being a first, premium brand, PSA 10, etc. And we just don't really have to struggle with. I mean, that still matters in Michael Jordan collecting too, but we don't have to jump through all those hoops. It's a little bit. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, we've got 40 years of sample size, and we've got relatively stagnant pop reports, right? So we can do a really good job at, and we have pack odds. They don't really tell us anymore. I mean, on non-serial numbered cards, serial numbers, everything. So we don't really know the pack odds. We can hear case hit, right? But we don't really know how rare, a case hit from Court Kings may be less or more rare than a case hit from Prism or vice versa, right? The one thing I do want to mention, and we're going to pull these in now, right? Because we've talked about serial numbered cards. We know that serial numbered is going to trump, non-serial numbered base cards, right? Or non-serial numbered parallels. But do serial numbered cards necessarily trump, blank slate, kabooms, downtowns, different stuff like that? Here's a great word. It's a quagmire of factors, and an unsophisticated, unwary collector in the ultra modern world can really talk themselves into why a card is important and why a card is truly rare. You know what I mean? It's like there's a million ways to arrive at the conclusion of why you should buy that card, when really maybe you shouldn't buy that card, from a financial perspective. Maybe it's not as frugal of an investment as you think it is. And again, let's be very clear here. We're not out here telling people not to buy certain cards. Like, this is an investor perspective that we're trying to take on cards that we don't really even invest in. Okay, let's just be fair about that too, right? So how many one-on-one Luka Doncic's are there
across all years?
6 years.
The question.
6 years. I'm including your printing plates. I don't know how many of those there are, but we're going to include the printing plates.
Yeah, so the plates are going to be a big chunk.
Are they?
Yeah. I think
I know everyone has to be printed on a plate, but not every plate goes into a pack.
No. Not every plate gets circulated, but every card does take 4 plates. You get the black, the cyan, the magenta, and the yellow, I think.
Cyan is a word you only hear in the hobby when referring to
it is.
It's not even a color otherwise. It's not even it's not even in the dictionary. It's only in the hobby.
I know for sure his rookie year cards have a few hundred plates. And then I don't know why subsequent years wouldn't have a few hundred per year too. And then
think it's that much, Chris?
Yeah, Christina did this project once, but only on the rookie year cards. She made a full checklist of all of his 2018 stuff.
Okay.
And there was a few hundred plates. I hope I'm remembering that right. There's a lot of plates out there from ultra modern cards. It's not like MJ. MJ only has, I think, 4 plain days printing plates, which Frankie was teaching me a little bit about those. They're from Stadium Club. I think he just has the 4 and that's it.
Okay.
I don't know. I should really look before I just say things, but
I probably should have dug deeper, Chris, because I looked at Beckett. I looked at Beckett, and there was X number per page, serial number to 1, and I counted the pages, and then I did multiplication, and 1,500 is what I came up with. 1,500.
That sounds about right. I would say I would guess maybe 400 to 500 are plates, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder if most people would have guessed 200 or 4,000. I mean, you know what I mean? I wonder what most people would have guessed. But according to Beckett, according to Beckett's website, the answer is somewhere near 1,500.
Well, here's the perspective that I take on that. Oscillating between my Michael Jordan collecting perspective and my ultra modern collecting perspective is that if you were to add up every Bulls uniform 90s numbered Michael Jordan card. So all the rubies. So for rubies, you just have from 97, you've got the base set and the subset, which is 100, and then you've got the 98, which is 50. So you only have 150 numbered Michael Jordan rubies out there. And then you throw in, you've got 200 total numbered PMGs. Well, 201 if you include the Gem Master.
81 credentials.
Yeah, and you just pile up those numbered Jordan base set cards, and there's probably somewhere in the vicinity of 1,500 that will add up to, and so in other words, in a sense, like a Michael Jordan PMG red, of which there are 90, and that belongs to this broader population of 1,500 or so. It's kind of on par with the Luka Doncic 1 of 1. Even though the 1 of 1, it says 1 of 1, and you look at it and you get really excited about the idea that it's a 1 of 1. But when you adjust your perspective to think in terms of categories, like how many,
you have to think of the buffet. You can't just think of the item on the buffet. You have to think about how big is this effing buffet.
That's a perfect metaphor. The buffet metaphor is perfect. And from that, because like I'll be at the National, like last National, I made a few pickups. One was a Jokic Optic Nebula 1 of 1, and the other one was a Michael Jordan 1 of a kind from 1998 out of 150. And I would show, whenever somebody would come say what's up at the Cardladder booth, I would say, what'd you pick up? And like, these 2 cards. And like the ultra modern collectors would look at the Jokic and they'd be like, wow, 1 of 1 Nebula from Optic. And then I'd show them the 1 of a kind. They'd be like, 150, like this is junk. And I'm like, no, this is not no. If you look at the full buffet, these cards are a pretty equivalent rarity relative to the catalog from each player.
Yeah. I don't know. 1,500 scary. Here's one thing I haven't mentioned, and we're going to get to this or that, right? And we'll do a lightning round, this or that, while I ask you to choose between 2 particular cards. One thing we hadn't talked about the Kabooms, the Downtowns, the Blank Slates, the Color Blast, the Auroras, and go down the list. I'm not an expert on those case hit, but I know they're popular. I know people like them. People like to set collect them, right? Set collecting is alive and well, which makes me very happy because I've got that tendency and that gene to go put a set together here and there. And people like to put those case hit sets together in all sports. We didn't talk about any of the RPAs. I mean, those are serial numbered, but we didn't really, talk about those. We didn't talk about non-serial numbered autographs, which are in the tens of thousands.
Oh yeah.
Got to be, Chris. Tens of thousands. Got to be. Let's see. That's just rookie year. I think 2018 rookie autos is likely 5,000 for Doncic. Maybe something like that.
At least
6 years. You're talking about 15, 20,000 total, maybe, because they probably printed less after his rookie year. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, but
it's a lot of cards.
Who knows how many sheets of stickers he signed?
You don't know. They could be sitting on stickers right now, ready to put on next year's cards. All right, let's talk about this card. I'm going to screen share because we can do that down here. We have the internet in Louisiana. Here's the card that I'm choosing, right? Because 7 years ago, you would have said, holy hell, this is a freaking monster. Yeah. And it's still a $12,000 to $13,000 to $14,000 card, according to this. I forget what the name of this application is called. Cardladder.com. So according to cardladder.com, this card just sold for $12,500 conveniently yesterday. Okay. So there we go. That's pretty accurate, which means you've got a 5 on your confidence meter bar here. I won't nerd everybody out, but we're pretty confident this card's somewhere in the $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 range. Chris, it's serial number to 199. Yep. And after all the stuff that we just kind of talked about, these are the types of cards that people are going to talk themselves into. And they're going to start with color match, which is, like your reference to vintage people creating this anomaly of rookie cards matter. We've created color match matters, right? And I think it's sticking. I don't think that's going away. Do you? I don't think that's going away.
No, I think it matters.
Yeah, I think it matters. Whether we invented it or don't like it or resistant to it, that ain't going anywhere, and it's going to affect value. You would say it's his rookie season, right? So there's another check in your box. It's a serial numbered card, which 7 years ago we would have thought that's a really big deal. Now that's not nearly as important as the fact that it's a color match, it's a prism, and it's and it's a PSA 10. I mean, those three things probably trump the fact that it's serial numbered to 199. But Chris, this is a $14,000 card, man. I mean, I could go buy a Legacy Collection serial numbered Michael Jordan card, which we've talked about. That buffet is much smaller, and I could buy it for less than this.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer to me.
You know, these are the kind of cards that worry me about people. And again, this is only from an investor perspective. So I don't want a bunch of collectors screaming at the screen, well, I'm just collecting it because I'm trying to put the rainbow together. I love it. I love that, right? I do the exact same thing, even when it doesn't make financial sense. But we're really trying to put our investor hat on and talk about cards like this. You know, it's a pop 42. What would you say? What advice would you give? And I know you don't like to give investment advice, but what would you do if you own this card right now? If you own this card right now and somebody said, I'll give you $12,500 for this card, I think I know what your answer is. And you love Luka Doncic.
I do love Luka Doncic. I'll explain it in what I think are collector terms. Their money has an opportunity cost.
Yep.
And every card in my collection that I own, I am tacitly agreeing to have purchased it at its market price, because if I didn't agree with that, I could just sell it at its market price today and allocate that money to something else. Yeah. Now, human psychology isn't that simple. We have the endowment effect, which biases us in favor of things that we own, so on and so forth. But on a basic, rational, economic level, if I own a card in my collection, I am basically also acknowledging that I would buy it at that price if I didn't have it today. And so as a collector, we have, most of us have a finite amount of resources, a finite amount of money that we can spend on cards. And if I own a card at $12,000, that's a huge opportunity cost, because I could be spending that money somewhere else. I could get a Michael Jordan Legacy Collection card, or I could pick up a beautiful gem-in copy of his 96 Golden Touch insert, which I recently acquired from recent guest on the show, Coleman, at the most recent Dallas card show. I could get that and have 10 grand left over. Yeah. So, you know, the opportunity cost is the factor there, because even if you're not thinking about the value proposition, the prospect of the market for this card going forward in the future, even if you're not thinking about that at all, you still have to make decisions with your limited resources within your budget of which cards you want to own and which one you would most like to own. And as a collector, I almost think it was really collectors driving the pivot away from base, the pivot away from silver, even the pivot away from numbered cards that are still pretty common, because collectors want to have the best card. They want to go out and get the card that carries the most significance to them. I don't mean to speak on behalf of all collectors, but at least my collecting mentality is that, you know, I have players that I love to collect, and I want to try and be as creative as I can to get the cards that I think are the most special cards to my collection. So even if you don't think about it from an investment point of view, there's still a really strong argument that says the opportunity cost of of owning a card like this is pretty high.
Well, I would phrase it this way. So that was a long way of saying you'd sell it.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Well, I agree with you. You know, I'm not, you know, shooting arrows at you. I'm the same way. I would, is it awesome? Yeah, it's awesome. My question would be this: are there not 50 better Luka rookie cards?
I think there are.
20, 40, 30, 50, somewhere in that range, right? You've got you've got NTRPAs. You've got, you know, we've always, you know, wrestled with this. Is this blue color match serial numbered to 199 better than the orange numbered to 49? You know, a 4 times as rare card from the same set, from the same product, with the same grade, with the same image of the same player from the same rookie year. Is it really, you know, is it really better? You know, where's our money best spent? I bet you there's 25, 30, 40, maybe even rookie Luka Doncic cards better than this one. How about this? And we'll just start our little exercise here. This blue Luka Doncic Prism, you know, serial number to 199 PSA 10 for $12,000. Would you not rather a second or third year Luka Doncic gold? I know you would.
I think I would, yeah.
And I guess the question for investors is, you know, is the hobby ever going to fall in line with your thinking and what's becoming my type of thinking, where, rookie year may be meaning less and less than it used to mean. I really believe that. I really believe the rookie season means less today than it did last year, than it did the year before, than it did the year before, as the hobby has become infatuated with blacks and golds. And it's not to say that will always be the case. It's not like it's on a fixed path and it's always going to be that way, where a higher percentage of the hobby is gravitating in that direction. Maybe it'll shift back, and maybe 5 years from now, everybody's only going to want Luka Doncic rookie cards. But that certainly seems to be the trend today, amongst other things.
Let me give you a comparison, Brian. This is about 12 or 13 grand. The most recent Luka card that I purchased was last summer. And it was a raw copy of his Optic Gold vinyl from 2023. And I think, it was on eBay, and I think it went for maybe $3,600, something in that range.
You nailed it.
There it is. Boom. There it is. Okay, I bought that. I graded it at the National, got a PSA 10, which was amazing because I got like all PSA 7s outside of that. Yeah. But that came through with a 10. Okay,
but PSA gives you and me, because we're affiliate partners, unfair grades, Chris. Don't you know that?
Yeah, well, you go look at my showcase on Cardladder sometime and see all those 7s.
That's right. It's reverse nepotism is what it is.
It is. It benefits PSA to give us bad grades because it increases their credibility.
There you go.
But that's just a joke. It's a completely blind process.
I won't clip that.
Yeah. Okay. It's a completely blind grading process. But anyway, so this card right here, let's just call it $4 grand. So Luka has to date 6 Optic Gold vinyl 1-of-1s, period. You could get half of them. You could get, supposing that they're all worth about $4 grand.
Yeah.
You could get half of them. You could get 3 of his 6 Optic Gold vinyls for the same price as the PSA 10 blue.
Which is out of 142 in PSA 10.
Yeah. Now, to me, if I'm at the buffet and the one side of the table has the blue and the other side has the 3 non-rookie gold vinyl 1-of-1s, I'm gonna try and move so quickly before the person offering me the deal realizes what they've done.
Yeah. Before Nico Harrison realizes maybe this was not a good decision.
Exactly.
And so the bald Rob Pelinka just rapes Nico Harrison for the 3 gold vinyls. I love that. There's our analogy right there. All right, let's go through some this or that. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. Because really what we're getting at is, I hate to use the H word, but really we're trying to establish maybe what the hobby's consensus hierarchy is as far as important. And I don't think there is a consensus, but it merits discussion. Because you and I are not going to be on the same page. You may value gold vinyl more than I do. I may rather, you may rather a gold vinyl 1-of-1, whereas 97% of the hobby, Chris, probably values a gold Prism 10 for whatever reason. It just seems that way. You know what I mean? Just like people would rather a NT RPA to 99 than a NT RPA to 75 or horizontal to 49, right? That's how it is today. But what investors have to do is they have to figure out what it's going to be like 4, 6, 8, 12 years from now, right?
Yep.
So, all right. So we know we can agree PSA 10 over everything, except maybe BGS 10.
Well, I guess I don't know. The ideal is to buy cards that the grade is as of little significance as possible.
I'm with you. I'm saying all things equal. In other words, if that gold vinyl went to PSA, would you not prefer a PSA 10 over a PSA 9?
Absolutely.
So, all right. So if we're comparing apples to apples, and I'm not, you would rather a PSA 10 than a PSA 9 or BGS 9.5. What about the PSA 10 versus the BGS 10? I think BGS 10 still holds a little bit of sway, maybe over the PSA 10, but I believe that margin, that value margin is shrinking rapidly. Is that not?
It is. And, some very important sales historically, some very high sales have been BGS 10s, like the 96 Chrome Refractor Kobe's and stuff. Like BGS 10, just it really, especially with a card like that, when I think there's only 2 black labels. So then the BGS 10 Black Label creates a level of rarity within the population of that card that makes it really desirable. But like if we were talking about like optic gold vinyls, for example, I would rather have them as a PSA 10 than a BGS 10 because of all the other amenities that come with having my cards in a PSA slab. You know, being able to participate in the set registry, if that's something that I want to do. I mean, those are pretty cool cards to add to whatever Luka checklist I'm pursuing. And I've always had a great appreciation for the guarantee. Not that I'm particularly worried that they would be counterfeits, especially after passing eBay authentication. And then, hopefully it's not an issue, but counterfeiting does happen, and it will continue to happen. And so I like it quite a bit when a grading company offers the guarantee. And so you just sort of stack up. You stack the set registry element, you stack the guarantee, you stack the market share, the prestige of the company. And then from my particular vantage point, you also stack up the fact that I work for a company that's a sister company of PSAs and under the same umbrella as collectors. And I lean PSA, but I'm biased.
Yeah, oh God, lately we've got to announce all of our affiliations before we give any opinion whatsoever, right? And so please, for God's sakes, everybody check my YouTube description. I've listed everybody that pays me money, so everybody knows where we're coming from. Okay, so here's another one, this or that, right? The dude, Luka Doncic rookie goal. Let's say Luka Doncic orange prism. Let's pull them up for you, right? On Cardladder. Okay. Luka Doncic orange prism. Rookie, serial number to 49, PSA 10, which, by the way, is we lost our blue. Can we go back to it? Yeah, there it is. Which is almost exactly the same value as the blue, right? Which is, to me, color match four times the print run, color match, same price as the orange, serial number to 49. This card right here, Chris, for you, and the way that you collect and your long-term hold, or right here, second year Luka gold, serial number to 10. Rookie orange 10, second year gold 10.
Second year gold 10.
Second year gold 10. And it's about half. It's worth about half. This one actually just sold for $8,000 on alt, allegedly. What is that? February 2nd. That's 9 days ago. No, that's a year and 9 days ago. But nice. Cardladder value, that's a 1 meter thing. So let's say 8, 9, 10,000, something like that. It's crazy. Look at 2021, Chris. 25,600.
Yeah. That those 2021, some of those sales you'll see.
Yeah, they're funny.
I mean, orange was selling in 2021 for like 125 grand.
Yeah, we can always look that up with our handy dandy Cardladder all-time graph. Look at this. 114, 125 private sale, 114, 120, 3 times over 100, 4 times over 100 grand for an orange, and now you're sitting on a $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 card. That's disturbing.
Brian,
how do people take those punches and come back, dude?
I don't know.
That's a punch in the nuts, man.
Brian, hover over the 2019 dot if you can.
Back here.
Yeah, keep going back.
Yeah, 14.
Even before that, you see that one? You see that 3750?
Yeah.
Sale? I sold that.
Are you sure you didn't sell this?
No, Brian. I am of all the graphs, of all the dots on that graph, the dumbest one belongs to me.
Well, there are. We could tell horror stories of sales I did not make that I could have made as well. And I'm sure you have many of the same stories. It's funny how many home runs and strikeouts that both of us have, and it all seems to work out. It all seems to work out in the long run. I'm with you, Chris. I think I would go with second year gold PSA 10 over the orange, regardless of what the data says today. I think 10 years from now, I'd rather be sitting on this one,
Me too.
All right. What else do we have? We got rookie orange. Yeah, we did that. What about a, let's say, does Doncic have a Kaboom rookie?
Yes.
Okay. Luka Doncic Kaboom rookie PSA 10 versus a, let's say, second year Luka Doncic optic 1 of 1.
This is a hard one because not for me to choose, but it's just it's a difficult
investor. Yeah, I know you're not choosing the Kaboom. Investor. Which one?
Here's the thing. I think his Kaboom rookie is very low pop in a PSA 10, and I think the last sale was around 25 grand for it.
Yeah, but we're not asking what it's worth. We got Cardladder for that. We're asking what it's going to be worth in 8 years in comparison to a second-year optic 1 of 1. And that's the crazy thing. This is really, I did something wrong. What did I do?
No, you're on the right one. It was Pop 8.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Pop 8. Damn, Chris, you're right. You're not kidding.
So that's what's tough. That one is just a little
63 total graded ever. I would not have guessed they were that rare.
But this was pre Zion rookie year. This is pre-pandemic, so that's part of the reason why those were a little bit shorter printed. But
preposterous looking card, second only to the Downtown. Downtown is the only more flamboyant looking card than this one.
Flamboyant euphemism. And just the least likely pose you'll ever see Luka make in an actual game.
This is a jump pass, not a dunk. This is a across court. Yeah, across court jump pass.
You know what? Now that you frame it that way, the image makes a little more sense if I think of it as a pass.
But nobody's that happy to throw a skip pass. It's just not. No. It's just not real, you know.
So I'm obviously going with the second year optic 1 of 1. But if I had one of those Luka Kaboom PSA 10s, I mean, I could turn that into a ton of Luka 1 of 1s.
For sure. Yeah, you could buy damn near every optic gold vinyl, it sounds like.
Right.
What about case hit rookies? Let's just keep the same card up here. Let's just keep this Kaboom PSA 10 versus long term. Which one would you rather be sitting on? Let's say the 2019 gold that we just looked at. Obviously, this is worth 3x now, right? So anybody in their right mind would choose this one, sell it, and go buy 3 of the next one. But like generally speaking, which one's going to hold more sway, have more demand, have more long-term value? This rookie Kaboom PSA 10 right here, or maybe a 2019 gold prism PSA 10? Obviously, it's got a lot of catching up to do because it's about 1/3 the value right now.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know, man. I wonder. I think a big part of the equation is who are the buyers?
Yeah.
Who are the folks who are buying the Kabooms and who are the ones buying the second year Prism Golds, and how likely are they to still be here in 5 or 10 years? And if they are still here, what are they going to be seeking out? And so I would always verge towards, for long-term stability or long-term growth, I would always place my bet on the card that the collectors love. Yeah, that's always the direction I would lean.
Yeah, the problem is figuring out what are collectors going to love 10 years from now.
I know.
Right now, they love Kabooms. Kaboom is probably a bad example because people have an unnatural fascination with those, and I'm not really sure why. This one's probably a better option to compare to the second year gold prism because it's about the same. It's 8,100. It's pop 50. Second year gold we know is only 10 printed, but they have about the same value. You know.
Yeah.
And this is people putting a humongous premium on that rookie year, 2018 versus 2019. That's really what this is. Because cornerstones, nobody gives a damn about cornerstones. They give a damn about downtowns. They don't give a damn about cornerstones to the tune of we don't make them anymore. Yep. And people love gold prism, and still they're about the same price, even though this one's a pop 50. And absolutely preposterous. I was informed, by the way, doing a auction recap video for Fanatics yesterday that I called this bandana rabbit thing down here on this, barrel, and someone informed me that is actually a jackalope. Chris, I don't know if you knew that. You're from Texas. You probably know that.
Did not know that.
I did not know that either.
I don't even know what a jackalope is.
Those are called jackalopes. Just now you can go impress Christina. Okay. So let's talk about the indexes a little bit. This is something that I talk about on my channel. I use y'all's Cardladder indexes all the time. But now that I've got you on the channel and you're a guru, maybe you can kind of help us make some sense out of these and just kind of give us your macro, perspective of some of the stuff that's going on. Because I don't think people take a step back and, we take a step back and we look at cards, what this card's done over this amount of time, but we don't really take a look at the big picture stuff. Basketball cards are down 50% since we're going to measure from March 1st, 2021, which, Chris, I think is kind of a safe location to put if you were going to put a needle in the bubble, this would have been when the bubble was the fattest, I think. I'm just going to use this date. March 1st, 2021, basketball cards, generally speaking, the cards included in the Cardladder Index, which consists of 16,433 different data points, down 50%, almost on the nose. Thoughts on that?
Lots of thoughts on that. Category indexes are going to have a strong tendency to decrease over time, even without a bubble. And that tendency derives from the fact that most players are going to be losers over the long haul. There's only going to be one Michael Jordan. And then there's going to be a LeBron and a Kobe. And then you're going to, have a Larry and a Magic and a Wilt and a Kareem and a Russell. But right now, there's like we've got cards of, we've recently. Exactly. James Wiseman. Exactly.
This is the James Wiseman principle is basically what you're trying to explain. Yes.
Yes. And so that's why category indexes are very interesting. I think they're especially good for setting a baseline. So if we want to measure like how Michael Jordan cards have performed, measuring them against the basketball index in particular is instructive too. Because you see, look, Michael Jordan from there is down 13%, and in isolation, that's negative, obviously. But compared against the broader baseline of the total basketball market, he's up 37% compared to that. So that's one of the ways you can use a category-wide index. But like something like stock market indexes, like the S&P 500, it doesn't suffer from this survivor bias, where this is one of the things that's not seen when people evaluate the financial performance of stock market indexes and even the stock market as a whole, is that in that context, when a business craters or when a business's stock goes to zero, it just comes off the exchanges. If it was ever in an index, it gets taken out of the index and swapped in for a different company. And it's just as if it never existed. Yeah. And so that would be the equivalent of if we went in and just deleted every James Wiseman card once it became clear that he was a bust, which we don't do that. However, there are indexes that are trying to sort of resemble a snapshot of just a more stable portion of the market of established players. And that would be like the CL50. So the CL50 is trying to remove the survivor bias of being loaded with prospects and people
moving a lot of biases. It's including Pokemon, it's including hockey, it's including soccer. I think that's that's a better indication of the pulse of the hobby in general, for sure. No question about sports card collecting general, or just card collecting general.
Probably. Now here's the other point that I have about the basketball index is that the index is price. The index is measuring change in price over time. But there's another metric that's just as important as price, which is volume.
Sales volume.
Volume. And so the sales volume metrics, we don't have them broken down by sport in a very tidy fashion. Like it's just those graphs are kind of just all over the place.
Impossible.
I don't know.
Because auction house is ending on,
exactly.
Thursday, Sunday. Yeah.
But if you take the industry-wide view, which you can take from the industry tab, and if you, it's the very lowest one. That one. If you look at the industry-wide, so here we have industry-wide volume, and even if you were to set the parameters of this to the custom date of March 1st, 2021 to today, it's still an uptrend in terms of total volume spent. And that the month of December 2024 was the second highest sales volume month that we've tracked. The only month that was higher was February of 2022. So when you look at an environment in which you have decreasing prices to the tune of 50% even category wide,
or 90 for Zion, or 70 for LeBron,
exactly, and you set that against an increasing volume, to me as a collector, that says people are just getting way more bang for their buck. and people have calmed down, and people have started dispersing their interest, and they've started looking to a wider, more diverse array of cards instead of everybody concentrating on just the base PSA 10. And so, people, in other words, people are now getting basketball cards for half as much, and they're buying them more. So people are able to get more cards for less money, and ostensibly they're enjoying it because the volume continues to go up.
Chris, this is fascinating. I don't screw around with this enough on the channel, but I mean, look at this. This is since bubble peak. This is peak bubble 2021, March 1st, 2021. This is the total number of transactions of cards being sold. Now, Chris, this says that transactions that are tracked in sales history, that's My Slabs, that's 90s auctions, that's Heritage, that's REA, that's eBay, that's Golden, that's Fanatics, go down the list, right? That's damn near everything. Is there anything relevant, big platforms that are not included in the sales history that you can get on Cardladder?
Only TCG Player, which is Pokemon and TCG stuff. So like we don't have their sales data, and we don't have ComC, and ComC is a pretty big one too.
But you have ComC sales that are through eBay.
Through eBay,
you don't have ComC sales directly off the site.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. We'd love to get them sometime if anybody at ComC is listening. But one caveat that I need to add on the monthly sales count in particular, if you look really, you have to look closely. The dots are different colors. Yep. So some of them are purple, some of them are green, some of them are blue. Yep. That's because our data collecting capabilities have increased over time. So like all the ones that are in purple, that was when we were using a certain methodology.
Yeah. You're picking up more transactions, so that's how you indicate. Yeah, it's up. Okay, I got you.
So compare purple to purple, compare blue to blue, compare green to green.
Blue still looks like it's going up to me.
Blue is still going up. It is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, well, that's a good. This is Luka Doncic on an EKG test, right? You don't know what the hell you're looking at. And all these big blue dots at the top are all. I don't even need to look. Those are Sundays, I'm assuming, right?
Probably.
Yeah, because eBay does great on Sunday. Fanatics Collect weeklies obviously do very well on Sundays. Exactly. Thursdays obviously are probably pretty good as well, if I had to guess. So that's pretty cool. What about Luka Doncic down worse over? Well, this is a question I wanted to ask you, and maybe you can articulate this better than me, and maybe I'm overthinking this, but like, I know an index is only as good as its constituent parts and the breadth of those constituent parts, but do you find that, like, let's say this Luka Doncic index that we've got on the screen right here, do you think that it's more heavily tilted towards lower end cards than higher end cards because of the number of the 732 Doncic data points you have in here? Would the vast majority of them not be lower end or lower to mid end Doncic cards? In other words, the high end Doncic could be doing great, whereas the low end is just so bad that it has an undue influence on the results that you see on the graph. Completely.
Okay. And in fact, the parameters for inclusion. So it's like we do track like Lucas Prism Gold. That is a profile that we have, but it doesn't even show up in this index. And the reason why is because we set parameters on our indexes to make sure that it only includes cards that are registering new prices with at least a little bit of regularity, so that the index doesn't just get backlogged with stuff that never sells, and so it's just a stagnant straight line. Okay. So the parameters is that a card must have sold twice in the last year and once in the last 6 months in order for it to even be able to make it into the index. So even when we have card profiles like a Prism Gold PSA 10, which is going to sell on Golden in about a week and a half, even in a case like that, we have a profile for that card, but that card isn't even showing up in his index because the last time it sold was 3 years ago.
Well, then none of, like, for instance, just to make sure we're on the same page, like none of the Jordan PMG Reds will even be in the index at all, because none of those sell more in the same grade more than twice a year.
Bingo. Okay. It's exactly right. And and there's always going to be outliers. It's like if you look at that 500's performance over 2024, and let's say that went up 30%, it had 100%. Yeah, I mean, there are always going to be outliers. The index is an average. It's never going to. You can almost always find outliers.
Yeah. It's almost like an uphill battle though, because you're fighting against the apparently constant declining and diminution of value of the low end stuff. Like the chintzy cheap stuff is going to have undue influence on the indexes. That's good. That gives me a little more rosy positive perspective of, Doncic cards down, Jordan cards down. You know whose cards are not down, right? You know who.
I could tell you a few guys who are doing well right now.
Yeah, but I know the one you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jokic is it's funny how actually responsive his market is to in-season stuff. Like, you could map out his career.
Because you're buying them all.
Yeah, exactly. I start buying when he's doing well, and I just back off.
The opposite of what we're supposed to do, right? Exactly.
But you can literally tell the story of his career from this graph. You can see when he won the championship in 2023, and then you can see in 2024 when they were looking like they were going to come back against the Wolves, and then you can see when they lost and it goes down. Yeah. And then you can see, once this season started, he's trending back up again. But I can tell you some players who are even doing better than him.
I mean, dude, but 56% in the same time frame when basketball cards are down 50% is mind-boggling, man. That's phenomenal. And SGA, I didn't look up SGA. He's got to be doing. He's doing tremendous.
Dude, he's doing great. He's up, especially like it's fun to look at an index all time and just see like what did this guy start out at. If you were one of the shrewd SGA purchasers who started from day one, his index is up almost 2,000% since day one.
Oh, there it is, 159% over the last year. Now, tell me this: how does this happen?
I'll tell you exactly how that happened. So the these indexes are price weighted. So if $1,000 card goes up to $2,000, it doubled. But he has an index of 163 cards, so $1,000 increase in totality is great for that card, but it's not going to have a huge impact on his index. However, when you have a card like his RPA, which tripled in value, it went from like 28 grand to 84 grand.
Yeah,
and both sales were within the span of a year, so it qualifies for the index. That's why, because that was an absolute gain of like $60,000 relative to an index of 163 cards, and that's probably the most valuable card of his in the index, or one of them. That's going to have an outsized effect on a price-weighted index.
Talk me through that. This is showing up in your index. It's showing up in sales history. Real quick, explain for people, and I think this is really important. You've explained it to me on occasion, and people want to know. You don't track and make sure every single sale got paid. You rely on the auction houses, the Fanatics, the Goldens, the Alts, the blah, 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 blah. If they give you the data, then they're confirming to you we got paid, right? Otherwise, you don't get the data. So is there any chance that SGA card did not get paid? If it's in there, does that mean Fanatics told you it got paid?
What it means right now. So that sale happened 2 days ago.
Yes.
So there is a payment window that Fanatics and all auction houses allow, a grace period, and it's usually about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes people pay immediately. Like I know when I win auctions, I try to pay right away because I can't wait. Like I don't want them waiting to ship me my card. Give me my card. So, but there always is a grace period involved. So we have different relationships with different platforms. So Alt is an example. They only deliver us paid items. So anytime you see something Alt in Cardladder, Alt has marked that as paid. With Fanatics and Golden, they and platforms like that, Heritage, they have a payment rate in the high 90 percentile, like 97, 98%, something like that. eBay is a bit lower. But so what we do is that, like for example, that SGA sale, that's one of the cards that I'm responsible for as a researcher at Cardladder. When that sale came in on Sunday night, I was the person who looked at it at 1 a.m. On early Monday morning. I looked at that. I went, and so it's like when a sale like that comes in, before I approve it.
What's your first thought when you saw it?
I was
be honest.
Honestly, I was like, "What's the pop on this card? Is this card like a pop 3 or something? Like, why did this happen?" And I look at it as a pop 19. So, you start like, you say, well, what the Luka goes for about this too. Well, what's the population of that? And the population of that's like 35 or 40 or something like that. It's like, okay, so the pop's lower. And then, but so I look, I say, well, are there any other available for sale right now in this grade or another grade? Because if there's a 9.5 sitting on eBay right now for 40 grand, even if the subgrades are worse, I'm probably going to send that sale to purgatory to wait for later confirmation rather than approve it based on the information that I have in front of me. But I looked at those factors, and I said, I have to bring the sale in based on what I can see right now. Now, if it later becomes revealed that this didn't get paid, we'll take it away. We'll pull it out.
There's just chalk it up to the fact there's lunatics out there.
There are. Hey, dude, there are lunatics out there. I mean, we were just looking at prices of 2021 sports cards. That's the proof in the pudding.
It's actually the majority of us are lunatics.
Yes.
Right? Us. I say us, both hands raised.
Indeed.
Well, that's it, Chris. The bulk of this was supposed to be really about the high print runs and just kind of talk through some of the ways to taper down, for ultra-modern collectors that might be relatively newer to the hobby. I'm risk averse enough to where I just really don't touch it very much. Even the gold prism stuff there's just too much stuff going on, too many printed, too many items on the buffet, I guess is the analogy that is going to stick. Do you have any advice, like general advice for ultra modern, collectors who maybe only have a year and a half into the hobby, about maybe a safe way to hedge risk and make sure they're buying cards that not only they like, right? Because that's the first thing is, do you like the card or not? Do you love this card? Do you want this card in your collection? That's first and foremost. But also, am I going to be okay 4, 6, 8 years from now, notwithstanding the player's performance, obviously? You know what I mean? Any advice about how to maybe hedge risk a little bit and make sure that they're even looking in the right place?
Yes, I would do exactly the exercise that you performed, which is visiting checklist websites, surveying the full landscape of cards that are available for this player, and then developing my own personal hierarchy, not based on, what I think other people are telling me it should be, but based on my own personal values and taste. And so to give an example, I decided to start collecting Patrick Mahomes about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. And when I was doing that, the first thing I did, well, let's just be honest. The first thing I did was buy the card, and then I did the work later because that's just how a collector works.
Right.
But I bought the card, and then I said, you know what? I really like this card, but let me actually figure out if I bought a piece of garbage or not. So I made a checklist, which took about 3 days to do, like spending a few hours a day. It took like a whole long weekend to do. But I made a spreadsheet, and I went to the different checklist websites, and I made a list of every 2017 Patrick Mahomes card. Everyone. Even cards that include multiple players. The whole thing. I made that full checklist. And it's a spreadsheet, and I still reference it to this day. And so that gave me an understanding of the true full landscape of his card offering for his rookie season cards. Yeah. And once I had that, then I was able to make a more informed decision about how rare is this card truly relative to the buffet, and so on and so forth. So that's what I would do. An exercise like you did, or an exercise like that Mahomes one, where I force myself to make this full checklist so I truly understand the available options that are out there, and I can try to reconcile market values with what I know to exist in the total supply.
Yeah. There's no people ask me that question all the time, and I tell them there's no right answer and there's no easy way to do it. Like when people say, which Jordan card should I buy? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's like saying, what book should I read? You know what I mean? I mean, there's a bazillion out there to choose from. There's no shortcut, man. It's not, in the Jordan world, in the 90s world, forget Jordan, in the 90s basketball card world, which is much smaller, I think, than the ultra modern stuff that's going on now with all the different parallels and different products and different releases and all this other crap. I tell them it's not hundreds of hours. It's literally maybe 1,000 hours. It's really that nuanced, man. And I made so many mistakes, and I just got lucky and dodged so many minefields. Really learning by doing is really the only way to do it, man. It's just trial and error. You're going to have to make some mistakes. Just hope they're not really expensive mistakes.
It's fun to learn by doing in cards too. Getting the mail day, it's all part of it, part of the process. Opening some boxes.
And look, unless you buy a fake card not in a PSA slab, the good news is if you get into a card that you're like, ooh, I overpaid for that, I should not have done that, and I've done that many times, get out of the card. You can take a little bit of a hit. It's not going to zero, unless it's James Wiseman. It's not going to zero. You can get in the card and then get out of the card and live to fight another day. Unless you bought, an orange Luka Doncic Prism rookie in 2021. Then you're probably not fighting anymore. Chris, I kept you way longer. I'll send you can send me an invoice, man. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. And for those of you that are watching, all of the data that we did today was on Cardladder, which was Chris's brainchild. I still don't understand the latter part of it. I don't know. Maybe that's a whole episode in and of itself. One day we could talk about that. But the sales history is what I love. The pop reports is what I love. The user interface is insane. The indexes, we could spend hundreds of hours talking about indexes, and you can even go into card indexes and player indexes and comparisons. There's so many features on Cardladder. You guys got to go check it out. Chris and Josh and Christina and their people have put tons of work into it. I'm an affiliate partner with them. Go buy a subscription. I tell them every day it's not expensive enough. You should charge more. But I don't think that's even in your control anymore, is it? You can't. Can you up the price if you wanted to?
I mean,
or you?
I don't know.
Man?
I hopefully I'd never find out. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. The Cardladder is wholly owned by Collectors Universe now, so it doesn't accrue to the pocket of myself or Josh or Christina if that price.
You're just a cog in the wheel. You're just a W-2 employee, man. Just doing your best.
We are just W-2.
With $1 million collection. Just doing your best with your $1 million collection.
Just trying to get by, Brian.
All right, Chris. Thanks for coming on the channel, man. We'll do it again. By the way, tomorrow is Frankie. The next day is Josh. So this is Murderer's Row right here. This is heaven for me as a content creator to have three of my good friends who know 100 times more than me and can inform and educate and entertain our viewers. So I appreciate you coming on, man, always.
I am always honored to join.
Cool. Thank you, brother. This is Brian checking out, signing out. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.